Hello, my faithful followers. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to everybody that has liked and subscribed and tunes in to the podcast. I cannot believe that we have 5,000 subscribers. We get an average of 1,000 views per episode. Mind-boggling. I am completely blown away. As many of you know, I have begun the process of creating my own media company, Ginger Media Scotland. While I'm really excited about this venture, I am also absolutely terrified because I need to make money. Yes, I've been monetized on YouTube, but I still need to provide for my wife and my two brilliant boys. So this is a little call to arms. If you or anyone you know is a small business, a big business, please get into contact me and see about sponsoring that Mental Ginger show. 5,000 subscribers. An average of 1,000 listeners per episode. I'm sure we could cut a reasonable deal. Everybody knows that I have no morals and need the money. So if you're interested, contact me at gingerparodies87@gmail.com. Take care, stay safe, bye-bye. On today's episode of That Mental Ginger Show, we are talking to one of the hosts of the Endless Celts Podcast, Anthony Dunn. As many of my followers know, I've been a regular guest on the Endless Celts Podcast. Well, the guys are an absolute blast. So when Anthony said that he was interested in coming on, of course I bit his hand off and made sure that he would get on here. Not literally bit his hand off. I'm no Hannibal Lecter. But let's just jump straight into it, guys, because well, Anthony's bloody awesome.
All right, troops.
Anthony, hail, my friend. How are you getting on?
I'm very good, my man. How you doing? Thanks very much for having me on. I'd seen Ed Sheeran's playing at Hampden tonight, but I've got a date with the best ginger in town. Your good self. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here. So thanks for having me on.
High praise, my friend. High praise. And in fairness, this ginger's been around a lot longer than the other one. I'm just knowing Hampden. Yeah. I'll get there. I really appreciate you coming on, man, especially since obviously I've been on the Endless Celts Podcast as a guest a couple of times. And I said it to Stephen when I had him on. I was like, how's it feel being on the other end of it, being the guest rather than the hosts?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously Stephen's our main host, but, every now and again I always say he invokes the 25th Amendment of the Endless Celts and passes off his hosting duties to some of us guys. And I think everyone except Franco's had a go on it now. And it's good. It's that wee bit extra responsibility. And we do it. It's a good laugh when we do it. But definitely Stephen's the captain, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, so who would you say is the vice captain then?
Well, John, who is the co-host of the show. That's his title. So John and Stephen are cousins. But John's the one who does. He creates all the links. He does all the graphics that we have at the start of the show.
Aye.
And stuff like that. John's he's very technically minded with that kind of thing. They just send me the link and I turn up. I turn up and talk nonsense. I'm pretty good at that. Got a black belt in that.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I think that's the qualification for being a good host, is that you have to have that type of experience in talking pish.
Absolutely. Well, in that case, then I could write a book on it.
Yeah, that could be something. Well, that could be your self-published biography, Talking Pish by Anthony Dunn. I love the Star Wars mug.
Stephen Tomlinson.
he can be like your ghostwriter. He kind of read it and make sure it's all sorted. I love the Star Wars mug, by the way, man. But you're speaking my language.
Thank you very much. It's I'm sure we'll get into it in due course. Some massive Star Wars fan. Very much enjoying Obi-Wan on Disney Plus right now. I think it's great to see Ewan McGregor back in the role. And I watched episode 5 last night, so I'm right up to date. It's absolutely brilliant.
As man, I was on the Funny Science Fiction podcast, which is based over in America, and it was 12 a.m. the Tuesday morning our time. Because they were ahead, they're behind. So I was like, I'm calling for the future. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Tuesday is shit. But But yeah, it's good, like, because he was like really worried about me because it's like, you haven't spoken like 25 minutes. I'm like, I don't get to speak to anybody that talks this with me. My wife isn't a Star Wars person. My kids don't understand it yet. Well, I'm just loving hearing it and being like, just get to silently agree and just enjoy it.
So sometimes they say the best way to say nothing is to say nothing at all and just enjoy and read the room. It's sometimes nice to just let others talk.
Exactly. And that is what we are going to do right now, my friend. We are going to hear about your origin story, because the one thing we all have in common is that we all have an origins. So, Anthony, for my faithful followers, please tell us your origin story.
Shall do. Thanks, mate. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not quite as exciting as a Luke Skywalker or a Peter Parker, shall we say. I grew up in a small mining village in West Lothian called Falthouse, and it's pretty much like every other mining village. It's full of characters. And we can all we've all got our own claim to fame within the village, but it's full of great people. As I say, 5 of the 6 guys on our show all hail from Falthouse. So it's a tight-knit community, and everyone looks after each other. And but I live out in Livingston now, which is just a town just a bit further out, it's quite closer to Edinburgh. So I've stayed here now with my missus and my 2 lovely kids. I got married, just had my 10-year anniversary actually.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you very much. And so yeah, I growing up, it's if you're from Falthouse, you're very unlikely to be into kayaking. Do you know what I mean? It's very much like every other village. It's football and music, and that's about it. But maybe the only thing that I'm a little bit more proud of is my geekiness. I am a bit of a. I love my Star Wars. I love my Marvel. I'm not. I maybe don't have this sort of level and sort of knowledge as a Sheldon Cooper, shall we say? But I think with Star Wars, I could probably hold my own in a debate. But so that's pretty much it in terms of growing up. But in terms of online and stuff, about this, it was February 2021. John, who's the co-host of our show, got in touch. We had a separate group chat, and he was sort of put the feelers out and said, would any of you guys fancy coming on? My cousin's he's thinking about starting a Celtic podcast. Would you fancy coming on? And we thought it was sort of he'd been on it for a few weeks, and we thought we were just coming on as a wee quick guest, and we were like, why not? But as it turned out, we all had a go, and there was we didn't do it with video or anything like that. Then it was just literally an audio communication. So it was quite tricky for the first wee while. You're trying to work out when to stop and not to go off on wee tangents and stuff. And it's so much easier when you're talking to someone and you can see their face. But I had a go on it, and the other guys were on with me. William, Francis, and the rest of the guys. It was we just went on it one by one, and I think I'm trying to remember. I think Ross was on first, and then it was myself, and then Francis and Willie, and Stephen just loved the chat and stuff, and it kind of just grew from there. And he ended up saying, look, instead of just getting different people all the time, I just want you guys to be the main guests on it. So we're kind of part of the panel now, and John's went off and got some cartoon graphics made with ourselves. So we've been doing it for of all the years to start a Celtic podcast, it's the year where we spectacularly blew the 10 in a row.
Oh my
God! It wasn't much fun going on quite a lot, but it was still the country was still in a state of lockdown at that point. Pubs weren't open, you couldn't go to the game, so it was a wee sort of relief for a lot of us guys, just to kind of catch up and touch base with one another. And it's kind of grew and grew, and we've had ex-players on, we've had different guests, your good self being one of them, Andrew, and we've had guests from other podcasts have come on, and likewise we've done a few sort of shows on their channels as well. So it's kind of mutually beneficial, and I think we're now doing video chat, which is a lot better. And as I touched on earlier, John's made us some kind of snazzy opening graphics. I'm trying to think who's probably Ross McCall of the he's the actor, the English actor. He was probably our most famous guy that we've had on. But we did have Dominic Diamond, formerly of XFM, for anyone that can remember the indie scene back in the noughties. And he was absolutely fantastic. He was a great guy. I couldn't make it on that night to share a screen with him, but I tweeted him and said, big fan sort of thing. And so yeah, we're called Endless Celts, all one word. So if there's anyone, you don't necessarily need to be a Celtic fan. I mean, we make no apologies that we see everything from a Celtic viewpoint, but we try and have a bit of a laugh with it. Do you know what I mean? We're not one of these highbrow shows that think we're match of the day or anything like that. We're just we turn up, we hit record, we go live on YouTube, and we just talk about the game that's happened or the game that's coming up, and just and every so often we'll do like nice little wee spin-offs and stuff. When we had our 100th episode there recently, it was just so happened to be the weekend of the Scottish Cup quarterfinals against Dundee United, so we had like a big long quiz night and stuff like that. So, and most of the time, especially on the Friday shows, we open the bar up as well. So, a couple of drunk guys talking about Celtic. What could possibly go wrong?
Surprisingly, nothing. Actually, you seem to do really well. I was very, very proud of your podcast, because I thought, right, see if you can start a Celtic podcast in the shit show that was the 10th in a row season.
It was
even my voice came out with that.
Incredibly stupid. I don't know if it was maybe a mixture of the two, but let's just say this season's been a lot more enjoyable.
It really has. Christmas. Oh yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. And because I remember because I've been a fan of your show from the very first episode. Because I remember I was sitting in my day job at the time, and I was like, right, because I was listening to Ryan Fitzsimmons, 67 Hail Hail. I was trying to find something else, and I saw this come up, and I thought, and I was like, right, there's only been like a couple of episodes. I'm going to just do them and see what they're like. And I really liked it. I just loved it. I liked the banter. I liked you were all genuine. You were just like, right, let's just, like you said, we're not claiming to be match of the day. Let's just we'll just have a banter and we'll have a laugh about it. And yeah, that got me through the remainder of that dire season. I was like, come on, give me some hope. And just getting to tune into you guys was brilliant. And it was like, I remember I was one of the first that commented when you went with the videos. I went, you've got faces.
Yeah, that's lovely to put a name to a face. It's always good. But yeah, so as I say, whatever comfort, or probably, we've got a few friends, of the Rangers contingent that were more than happy to tune in and give us our tuppence worth those first few episodes that we did. Guys that we drink with in the pub and stuff. They've not been quite as animated the last few months, right enough. But all joke aside, they're a good bunch, and listen, that's what makes the footballing world go round, doesn't it? It's all about, provided it doesn't go any further than a bit of banter and a bit of a wind up. It's football. It's why we love it.
Yeah, it's like there's a guy in my day job, and he's die hard Rangers fan, like the order and everything. So I wind him up and I call him King Billy because his name's Billy. So I just wind him up, call him King Billy, and my boss is like, you can't say that, and he was like, I don't mind it. It's all right, because if it was anybody else, I'd knock his block off. But we just banter about it, and we have done for years. So he's and again, I always say that I'm a ginger left-handed proddy that supports Celtic and has mental health issues. Satan is down there right now, waiting for me because I'm his replacement.
All I can say is, though, you've got better graphics than Satan's. Whatever he's got dialed up, I don't think it'll be quite as impressive as your backdrop there.
We'll see what happens. He might just look to me for some tips and ideas. We'll see that. But there's something that is very prominent when we come on the Endless Celts podcast with yourself, Anthony, is your fashion sense is second to none.
Thanks very much.
For anybody,
I wish you would tell. You should let my missus know that, Andrew, because sometimes when we're getting ready to go on a night out, she'll just shake her head and go, "You can't wear that down the pub." You know what I mean? She always thinks she likes the term smart casual, and I'm like that. That's like, the routine in Kevin Bridges' first DVD when he says, when people ask you to chillax, he says you've taken, ironically, the two most relaxing words and made the most infuriating one. Smart casual. That's my thing. For me, it's like, but It's not for me. I mean, I'm probably quite struck back the night with the denim shirt on, but come a night out, it's got to be. You've got to get the flamboyancy.
Oh, definitely, man. And for anybody that is not aware of the Endless Celts podcast, one of the reasons that you should subscribe to it is to see Anthony Dunn's choice of attire when he is on the podcast, especially on a Friday night. Some of the choices that come on, and I'm just like, this is brilliant. You're just Well, I think what you guys should do with your audience is try and do like an Endless Celts bingo, and just try and tick things off. So one of them would be that you're wearing some sort of attire that has a Celtic link to it. That would be the one for you. More obscure ones, like if you've got a sponsor, let's shout out. Because I always remember watching when you first got the Manscaped one, and I was like, oh, brilliant. And I could just see like Stephen was. I said to him when I had him on, he was the tiniest bit. It seemed a bit uncomfortable because it was first time doing it, and I was like, me being the actor, I'd be like, for something that was a male grooming company, I would have just went to town on it. I would have been like, right, it's a nightmare down there, and since I got Manscaped, it looks like the ginger version of Dumbo.
Listen, I think in we're talking about superheroes and that. I think in an alternate multiverse, one of us is still rhyming out that Manscaped dialogue that they made us do every night. My God, man! I mean, it didn't exactly roll off the tongue. There was a few tongue twisters in there with it, and we thought, why don't we just record it and put it out? Some of the more established podcasts are able to do that. They can kind of stop halfway and they just generate it and project it on, and that's it. But yeah, we just went with it. It was all written down on a bit of paper. We all got it, and I actually, fortunately, any night the nights where I was hosting, because we only, I think the deal was we only had to do them so many times a month, and the way it worked out was at any night I was hosting, it didn't fall on me to read the script out, but we all kind of had to come to the point where we would just kind of look anywhere except into the camera lens of the host, because we just knew we were going to burst out laughing. And poor John, he had to deal with them with the company via email and stuff, so we had to kind of really make sure that we were doing it. But oh my God, yeah. Next time, next time, hopefully we get something a bit easier. Gillette would probably be the easier. Best a man can get. Boom.
Definitely. It's such a simple yet unique tagline. But in fairness, if John's wanting to forward my details on, I do not mind riffing about my balls for a sponsorship. I can make anything up for self-deprecation, follow that script. As long as I have no morals and I need the cash, fire away.
Listen, a man's got to eat, especially when he's got a family.
Oh, definitely, man. And that's one of the things I'm breaking about with jumping in, setting up my own business and stuff like that. I am like, oh my God, where's the money going to come from? But I know it's going to come because I am that damn good and I will make it come. That's what she said.
All the best of it. Obviously, I'm sure I speak for all the boys when we say we're all behind you, and we have no doubt you'll make a rip-roaring success here.
No, thanks very much, man. I really appreciate it. And you guys have done absolutely brilliant since bursting onto the Celtic podcast scene. What's your subscriber count up to now, just for my audience?
I think it's just short of 950, which considering we started as an audio, it's just a sort of steady growth. You see other podcasts out there, and they've got thousands upon thousands, and and fair play to them. There's a lot of some of the channels now, they do daily content. They really do. I mean, we're a small team at the moment, so we do kind of keep it to, normally at the moment we're twice a week. With the new season, we're looking at potentially upgrading it to 3, but we normally do a Monday night, a Tuesday night and a Friday night. But obviously, with us being back in the Champions League, that might not be quite as possible. So we might, alter the nights about. But the great thing is, we've got a great sort of kind of the regulars that come on and get involved. The live chat is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And we've got our own forum set up now on Facebook and Instagram and all that. And guys just jump in with pattern. They'll come on and mention that they're looking forward to the show tonight and things like that. So. It's great, and as I say, as we grow and the show gets more famous, I'm sure that those numbers will pick up. But as we've said a few times, Stephen himself says he's not interested in necessarily making any any door that out it. You know, if we can get into the, you know, I think is it over once you hit 1,000, you can maybe put a wee add on, and that'll maybe cover the cost of paying for the sort of the the studio that we use. I think it's called StreamYard or something like that.
Yeah.
So if we can do that to cover the cost of that, then great. But our best one so far is when one of the guys, Wally, he was going on holiday with his missus, and he was at Glasgow Airport, and a complete stranger just went up to him and says, "You Wally for the Endless Celts, mate?" And he was like, felt like Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've not had that just as yet. But, you never know. Maybe as time goes on, more than happy to pose for a selfie.
Yeah, as Iron Maiden says, your time will come, my friend. It definitely will. I mean, like I said, I didn't expect to get spotted at a petrol station in Coatbridge. Well,
I know. I read about that. I've
yeah,
seen that.
That was the weirdest thing ever, because I could just hear like this kind of like these kind of giggling and whisper just for the car over, and then I just heard that's that metal ginger guy, and I was like, I'm going to screw with these lasses. That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. So I was just look over, and I was like, we wave as I was getting in the car, and I just heard him going, "Oh my god, I forgot the car window was open," and I just burst out laughing. I was like, "Oh man, class!" Well, and like they were not, like I would say they were no older than 13. So that as it made for kids thing, they found a way around that.
You know, the certification doesn't quite work on YouTube content at the moment, doesn't it? Not so. No, really. You're quite right. I mean, and it's good when something like that happens, and it's all good natured. I mean, thankfully, we've never. To be fair, we don't even really get many sort of negative comments, even because we're all kind of prepared for the fact you put something out there, you know, there's always going to be someone that doesn't like it. But even as I say, we've had a few Gers fans comment and stuff, and it's generally pretty good natured. You know, they'll maybe say that we're talking pish or something like that if we're bigging up a specific player, or you know, we've had wins in the derby there recently, and we'll say that we dominated and stuff like that, and they'll counter that. But it's not been. I don't think anyone could say there's ever been, you know, like a use or anything like that. And you put something out there, you've got to be prepped that you're not going to please everybody with it. There have even been some Celtic fans that say that there's sometimes been, you know, some pretty big, you know, you look at, for example, when Dominic Mackay, you know, blink and you'll miss him, he was there, and then again. And you know, the guys, some of the guys were like, "Why didn't you spend a full episode talking about that?" And we're like, "Well, we kind of brushed on it. And we made a point that it didn't make for good PR, but our kind of vision, and we can't even say it's only because we were winning, because it was in the autumn when, you know, Rangers were still quite a wee bit ahead. We just always come to the conclusion that the majority of folk that are coming on to watch our show on YouTube, they're not overly there for the, you know, the internal politics of the club or anything like that. But listen, we do talk about it, don't get me wrong, but most of the guys on a Friday night just want to come in, kick back, and just look forward to the game on the Saturday, and that's it. You know, there's enough kind of analysis and you know bad stuff, you know, misery out there without us having to add to it. So football's football. We know what it is, and that's the way I always see it. You know, we concentrate on the football first.
Yeah, I was more waiting for the response of what you said. Why didn't you do an episode on him? What's the answer of he wasn't around long enough to do an episode on him?
Yeah, exactly. It would be the shortest, greatest hits in history, I think.
Exactly. It would be, I came in, I left.
Yeah.
Well, and that would be it. Well,
it would be like it'd be like Homer's granda, you know, in The Simpsons, when he just comes in and gets his coat and goes back out again. It's just
brilliant. Well, oh man, that was back when The Simpsons was good. And I just go, "What is your name, Bart? Does your dad know you're here?" It was his idea. In that case, I have a whiskey sour, and off he goes straight into the club. And I was like, baller, just brilliant.
It's. I mean, obviously, you know, you get shows like Family Guy and that now that take it to the next extreme, but I just think in its heyday, it was very, very funny.
Yeah, very definitely. Clever. Well, and at the time, it was very controversial for some, because of how things were back then. And people look at it now going, was that it? But they don't remember it from back then. And all the things we're talking about, and they're like, what, really? This is it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. We say we get to maybe about series 9, 10, and then you're like, okay, just stop.
Yeah, it's an art that not many perfect. It's known when to call it a day. Quite while you're ahead and finish at the top. It's very few master it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I always find particularly great about football podcasts is that they're constantly evergreen. Because it's constantly moving forward. It's like any other kind of thing. Like there's always a new season. There's always new players or a prospective new manager. Or in Scotland, there's always some batshit crazy thing that's going on because it's Scottish football. That's what makes it. And there's always something to talk about. At the same time, you go back to those episodes, you're like, oh man, I forgot Dominic Mackay actually worked for us for a while.
Yeah, he's a good end of season quiz teaser. I actually think I used it when we done the end of season quiz. But no, you're absolutely bang on. We are byproducts of the content that we watch on a Saturday and on a midweek. And I think I even said that back when we were just audio and Rangers won the league last season.
Yeah,
and I think obviously there was all the debacle about is Eddie Howe coming, or and especially when Angie's name first got dropped, no one had a clue who he was unless you were sort of based down under. And there was that kind of crack. Oh my God, this we could be 3 or 4 years before we even get close to Rangers again and stuff. And my remained optimistic. My outlook's always like you can't say anyway. The season where Rangers won the league, they were by far and away the best side. But I think the final points, I think it was somewhat 20 odd points it finished with, and I do think that was
25 points, wasn't it?
25 points, yeah. And I was like, I think that's a false elevation of the sort of vision of where the gap was. I always said, they found their groove, they found momentum, and they knew they had a job to do, and they did it, and you've absolutely got to give them credit for that. But there was no way that team was 25 points better than us, provided we got our act together, and we got our act together quickly. Ross on our podcast he says it before every derby, and it actually maybe irks some more of the Celtic fans than it does the Rangers fans, but he says there isn't actually that much between the sides now. We've won the title this year, and that was absolutely the most important thing, and it's great, and we can look forward to our nights in the Champions League again. But you look at what Rangers have achieved in Europe. I know there's some of the sort of contingent that will say like, it was 7 wins and 20, and you're bang on that it was only 7 wins, but it's the rules of the game. The away goals were scrapped. They scored more goals than the opposition in the knockouts, and you got to give them credit for that. So I think Van Bronckhorst seems like a really good guy. I mean, he was always one of those players. He followed, maybe not quite in terms of skill and ability, but in terms of personality, we often say he kind of falls into the Brian Laudrup kind of category, that even though he's on as far on the opposite side of the divide as you can be, he's still one of those guys that you've got a respect for, because he was a terrific player. He was Henrik's best friend in the time at Feyenoord, and then obviously that friendship stayed when they came over here. And there's been some photographs of him and Ange sort of maybe not out together like socialising, but when they've been in company, these guys are world citizens. They're well developed. Perhaps they're a bit more developed than maybe some sections of both supports. These guys know that it's a goldfish bowl, but I think that both of them conduct themselves brilliantly. But it does swing and roundabouts. We've had 9 fantastic seasons, and the big thing about the 10. But I think Neil Lennon is spot on in his assessment of that. Maybe we did just want it a bit too much. I don't think it was the right idea to bring Neil back, but by the same point, I'd have some great nights under him as well. Some things just weren't meant to be. But if you'd have told me this time last season that we would win the league, we would win the League Cup, that Ange would get a trophy at the first time of asking, and we would have the Champions League nights to look forward to again, which we've not had since the days of Brendan. We would have put your hand off. I probably would have hesitated a bit if you then told me that the Gers will get their own Seville party as well. But
Yeah.
hey ho, it seemed to go off without a hitch. So
Yeah.
and I've had quite a few mates but on the other side they went over and they said it was fantastic. So you got to say fair play.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I mean, at the start of the season, I went, see if we finished second and we put up a good fight, I would have been happy. But considering how much of a shit show it was the season before, I was like, if we get to second and just do well in the cups, not win them, just do well, well, I would have been happy. I mean, more than exceeded that. We were all expecting it was going to be like a 2-3 year job or what, and no one's denying how well he done. What, and I was more than happy to come on those days and get my Celtic hat on, just be like, right, let's get into this, guys. I'm loving this. But because when you work in that's the sector I work in, I'm the only Celtic fan.
Very much outnumbered.
Very much so, yes. Trying to find one, and our Celtic fans like Bigfoot riding a unicorn. Just doesn't happen. As I call Zoom, I now call it my producer when it comes up with the time, say time remaining, because I don't have the money to pay for the software yet. Damn you, Zoom. So let's jump into the selling the Endless Celts. Tell everybody where they can find you, how they can interact with you.
Thanks, mate. So yeah, as I say, we're a relatively new podcast in terms of speaking. We started in February 2021, and we do, as I say, it's a twice weekly show. Hopefully in the new season it'll be at least 3 times a week, and I'm sure we, big news or the European nights, we'll try and put more of that on. But it's all one word, Endless Celts podcast, and you'll get us primarily on YouTube, but we are available on Spotify or anything like that. If you just type it in, you'll see our little graphic, but it's the 6 of us and our little cartoon heads. And, you can go right the way back to episode 1. And, it's in between then, as I say, we've interviewed ex-players, we've interviewed, some kind of, we've had other guests on, we've had some famous celebrity fans come on as well. But most of the time it's what a few of the 6 normal panel just talking about shooting the breeze about the latest news of that week with all things Celtic. So we have an Instagram page, we have a Facebook forum, we're available on Twitter as well, and but as I say, on YouTube as our sort of main base. That's where we go live when we do the shows at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday and Friday night. So if anyone's wanting to listen to us, or you don't even need to be a Celtic fan, as I say, if you just want a bit of football chat, you'll find us on there. And if you just hit the little subscribe button and then the little bell notification that comes next to it, anyone that uses YouTube will be aware of that. Then yeah, you'll get notified every time we go live. But as I say, our Facebook forum's available as well. It's a public forum now, so if you just if you click on it and you want to join, I believe it's John who's the main sort of administrator on it, and he'll just accept you in, and it's just again just football banter, the best kind.
Yep, a good laugh indeed. So now we'll round off with asking you the final question that I ask all my guests. If you could give one piece of advice to anybody that's struggling with mental health issues at this point in time, what would that piece of advice be, and why?
That's a great question, Andrew. Well, my main role, but I'm a podcaster by night, but during the day, I actually work in the NHS. So you could not have asked for a better person to ask the question on.
I worked for the NHS for 8 years, my friend, as well. So yeah, I feel the struggle. My mum works for the NHS, my wife does, my aunt's a nurse. I was in it as well for my time. Nothing but respect for everything that goes on behind the scenes. Massive respect.
I always say it's the greatest social policy this country ever created. That's we should be very, very proud of it, and we should protect it at all costs, because like a fine wine, and she's a famous old lady now. She had her 70th birthday a few years ago, and she gets better with age, but unfortunately there's a lot of evil things out there that try and bring it down. So we must protect it at all costs, especially those governing the country at the moment, shall we say? But that's another podcast. But yeah, the thing with mental health is it's something that it's and it was big before the pandemic, but I think it's even bigger now as we're coming out of COVID. because I don't think this will be the first pandemic that we go through in our lifetime, and you know how different ways how we adapt and cope with that. But you know, mental health I'm very fortunate. You know, I get anxious about things, and you know, if we've got big things coming up, I'll maybe be a bit of a worrier. But I've never had a lot of the right serious stuff that a lot of people, and more and more people, seem to be going through. I don't have, as I say, necessarily the experience to give, Andrew. But what I would say is probably the same as what a lot of people, anyone that has went through it, always seem to say that they're so glad that they spoke to someone. But you know, that doesn't need to be a loved one or someone. It can just be someone at work, or someone that you drink down the pub with, or something like that. If you just tell someone, very often, I think the biggest issue that a lot of people have is they always think that it's just them, and people are although the world's these all these devices and stuff, we can communicate so quickly now, but a lot of people have never felt so alone. I think social media does have a lot of good things, but I think it does as a negative thing as well, and people can feel that they are losing at life, shall we say, and everyone else has sort of got it absolutely perfect. But it isn't until we talk and we communicate that we realise that we do have a lot of shared issues. And when we talk, it's a problem shared is a problem halved, so to speak. And if there is anyone out there that feels that there's something's just not quite right, or they're in a bit of a dark place, talk to someone. Just start with that. Something's not right here. I'm not okay, and you'll be very surprised just how much that you do matter. Everyone matters to somebody. There's a fantastic quote online, and I think it became quite viral after Caroline Flack's tragedy, when it says, even though you might not think you matter to someone, there's someone who, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's someone, they drink their tea out the mug that you bought them, and they'll hear a song on the radio, and they'll remind me, you leave behind a little, can be invisible sometimes, but a little legacy, and you matter to a lot of people. So always just, that sounds really silly to say, try and focus on the positive or anything like that, but because it's very hard to do so in a lot of circumstances, I accept that. But always just reach out to someone, and more often than not, I think you'll be happy that there'll always be someone there to help.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, that's probably one of the most eloquent ways someone has answered that question. And that's it, man. I could listen to your voice all night, because it's a podcaster's voice. You would sit down, you would listen to it, and you're also a good-looking bastard as well. So which is a gift for guys like me. You've got a good voice, and you get good looks, and you get fashion sense. I'm like, let's just fucking get you off the air right now.
Oh, you're too kind, my friend. Thank you. I don't think it'll be, apart from the fact that I'm very happily married, I don't think the producers at Love Island will be coming after me anytime soon. But no, you're very kind.
Yeah. Well, as
I say, thanks for having me on. I've had an absolute ball. It's anytime you're looking, you're needing somebody to fill in a slot, I'm more than happy to come on and have a chat.
No, definitely, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Until next time, my faithful followers, I've been Andrew Dunn. This has been the brilliant Anthony Dunn from the Endless Celts Podcast. Get subscribing. Let's get them over the 1K and get them the money that they need to keep StreamYard running. So until next time, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.